Good morning, happy Thursday. So we're doing a down and dirty yin today. This is gonna be like short. If I can do this right, I have a clock, we'll see how it works. I'm aiming for 30 to 35 minutes total, including Savasana with a primary focus on hip openers. I do have someone here, so when you see me looking off camera and talking, I'm actually talking to a human. And we're gonna try to open up our hips. We did a walk this morning, just 2.5 miles, nothing major, but it's enough that I wanna get into the glutes and the hips and just kind of open everything up. Also, quick caveat, my house is usually very quiet at this time of day. It is not this morning. Everyone's home and walking around and doing stuff, so I apologize for background noise, just in advance. So let's go ahead and get started. Find that nice tall seat. Sitting up firmly on your sit bones, back is straight. If you feel like you are sinking or rounding, grab a blanket or a towel, fold it up, slide it behind you, sit all the way up, and then scooch forward until you almost fall off. You'll feel the tailbone lift, the sit bones lift, the back gets nice and long. Bring the soles of the feet together. Let your knees fall wide. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. Exhale, release. Check in. You do not have to have your feet super close to you. If that makes you round into the back, take the feet a little further away. Make sure the knees are comfortable. And then as you settle in, take that full breath once again, lengthening through the crown of the head as we inhale, creating space, and as you exhale, perhaps you hinge from the hips and start to fold over the legs. Maybe you even sigh and groan, because if I weren't teaching, I would be. So find that stretch. Stretch should be to the inner thighs, a little compression on the hip sockets themselves. The knees should be happy, ankles should be happy, low back should be happy. Nothing's uncomfortable. We're just finding a little stretch for the legs. Keep the attention on the breath, breathing in and out through the nose, taking full and expansive inhales, allowing the body to really lift and expand as you inhale, feeling that sense of ease as you exhale, maybe even melting a tiny bit deeper. Fractions of inches, these are just little small movements. Turn the attention to the body once again. Start to relax the forehead. Separate your teeth. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. You have a little space in there. Notice that releasing your tongue starts to relax the cheeks and jaw, maybe even down your neck. One more full breath in. Exhale, release. Holding here for 15 more seconds. On your next inhale, start to press into the palms, bringing the body upright, taking your time. Lift your knees towards each other. Lean back on your hands, knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. As you walk the feet out mat distance apart, give them a little sway side to side. Releasing that stretch, releasing the low back. This should feel good. Maybe. Danny's face says otherwise this morning. Since we're here, scoot off that blanket. Keep it nearby because toe squat is coming, I promise. Start to roll down flat on your back. Knees are bent, feet are flat on the floor. Walk those feet out mat distance apart once again. Take the arms out wide at shoulder height and slowly lower your knees over to the right. You can hold here if you'd like. You can start to lift that right foot up and place it on top of the left thigh. Above the knee, adding additional weight. So you're not pushing down, you're just letting your leg add some weight to the opposite side. Stretch is for the hip flexor and maybe the low back. Nothing should hurt. If this bothers your knees, just bring that foot back onto the floor. Holding here for just a couple breaths. Release your right foot back down onto the mat. Inhale the knees back through center. Pause here for a full breath. And exhale, take the knees over to the left. You can hold here or again lift up that left foot and place it on the right thigh, adding that weight, that stretch if that feels good. Allow your body to try to find ease here. This pose should not be causing discomfort. It should not be causing you to tense up and resist. So if you feel like you're fighting it, take the foot down and just relax. Bring your left foot back down to the mat. Inhale those knees back to center. Walk the feet until they are hip bone distance apart. Pausing here. Every inhale, lengthen through the spine, and as you exhale, allow your back to release and melt towards the floor. Finding a sense of ease here. Draw your knees into your chest, give them a little squeeze. You can roll side to side if that feels good. Massaging out that low back. And just to keep that nice massage, take the arms out wide. Release your knees, take the arms out wide, and we're going to circle the knees around, making big circles with the knees. Core is pulled in just to keep the spine safe, but this should feel good. Keeping both knees squeezed together, drawing big circles on the ceiling. Once you've done 3 circles one direction, rotate the opposite way for 3, 2, 1. Keep those knees drawn in and rock your way back up to a seated position. Swing the legs around, come onto hands and knees. It is that time, the dreaded toe squat. Toe squats are great, especially if you spend a lot of time on your feet or, if you just went for a walk. So while they're not everyone's favorite, they're really good for us. We come to a nice tall kneeling position, shoulders over hips, hips over knees. Tuck your toes under, and then look back. Make sure your heels are directly behind your knees. Naturally, when we tuck our toes, our feet tend to come a little bit towards each other. So you want that nice railroad track position. And then we sit back onto the heels and feel all the stretch through the bottoms of the foot. So if this is the bottoms of the feet, 2 feet, you have 2 feet. Hopefully, maybe you don't, I don't know. So at any rate, we're stretching through the bottom of the feet. If this doesn't feel great for you, if this is more than you want today, grab a second blanket or towel, roll it up, slide it between the calves and thighs as close to your knees as you can get. That gives you a little lift and takes some of the pressure off of that toe squat, off of the stretch through the fascia, the connective tissue at the bottoms of our feet. You guys, I go on and on about this, but my husband actually just had surgery for plantar fasciitis. His is from an injury, so it couldn't be easily corrected with stretches. But it hurts. I've had it, and it's very uncomfortable. I was able to just kind of tolerate it and eventually stretch it out without having to have surgery. But it hurts. You have a stabbing pain in the bottom of your foot with every step you take. This is a great way to prevent that. It stretches that fascia, opens the connective tissue, helps to relieve foot pain if you walk a lot, stand a lot, or if you wear high heels. This is a great way to counter that. So we should all do toe squat for at least 2 minutes every day. And just in case you're wondering, I'm glancing at my phone. I have a timer set, so I promise we will not go over 2 minutes. We have 40 seconds. You've got this. If you don't got this and you're like, no, I'm done, you can also grab a pillow, a chair, a bolster, anything, and lean forward onto it. That takes, again, a little bit more pressure off of the stretch. So you're looking for a stretch that is a lot, but not excruciating. You should see the faces I'm getting over here. This is not everyone's favorite pose. I know a few who really love it. For those of us that don't, it's rough. I'm in the don't camp, so don't feel like you're alone here. And that's time. Lean forward, untuck those toes. Tap your feet against the mat. If that feels good, you can roll out your ankles, squish up your toes, anything that feels good to counter that stretch for you. Oh my goodness. Okay, and see, the best part of toe squat is now it's over. Lean back, slide the blanket out from under your knees, keep it towards the front of the mat and your bolster. Again, I mentioned all the hips today. So next we're coming into our sleeping swan, because this is a yin class, it's called sleeping swan. In movement, it's called pigeon. Coming on to hands and knees. Walk the hands forward so you have a little more room. Draw your right knee forward, right knee behind the right wrist, and then take your shin at an angle across the mat. It does not need to be parallel to the front of the mat. You are looking for the angle that feels good for your knee, feels good for your hip, and you're starting to get stretched into your booty, into your glute. Once you find that, scoot the left leg back, and then you can come down onto elbows. You can grab your bolster and use a little pillow. Bring your head down onto your hands, grab blocks, anything that's comfortable to give your body support in this pose. Stretch through the glute. This pose should be happy. If you are on your hands or your elbows and you feel like your chest is starting to sink to the mat, you're actually adding pressure into the shoulder and neck area. That's not going to help anybody. We get enough tension and stress there anyway. So that's, your body is actually trying to come deeper. That's when you grab something to prop you up that you can rest down onto so that your shoulders and neck are relaxed and loose. If you don't have a bolster handy, bed pillows work, or you can grab a block or books, blankets or towels, and build yourself a little something, and come down this way. You just want to find the place where you are not creating additional tension and stress through your neck. I wish you guys could see what's going on over here. I have people going up and down stairs. I've got cats wandering around. So there's some great benefits to doing yoga at home. You can do 35 minutes, no travel time, and you're out and on with your day. The downside, there's nothing quite like being in a studio where it's quiet and you have nothing else to think about. I would bet money that some of you are probably wandering around right now and not doing yoga and just letting this video run. And that's okay too. But if you are here, try to tune out all the noise happening in your house. Take a big breath in through the nose. Open mouth, audible exhale. Sighing it out. Finding that sense of ease. Coming back to the awareness of your body, your yoga, your practice. This is your time for you. We're going to be here for about 5 more breaths on this side. Enjoying the stillness. Perhaps you have some soft music playing in the background. On your next inhale, start to press into the elbows, the palms, bringing the body upright. You have choices. You can either come through hands and knees, or if you'd like, you can scoot the back foot in, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and then pull your core in as you lift your hips and rise up through down dog. Right leg comes to the sky, bending and straightening, releasing that stretch. If you're on hands and knees, same thing. We want to release that stretch. Bending it out, straightening, maybe even rolling the hip, whatever feels good. And then we switch sides. Hands come forward so we have a little more space. Left knee behind the left wrist. Take a minute and find the angle for the shin that works on this side. Happy knee, happy hip, stretchy butt. Once you find that place, scoot your right foot back and come on down onto those elbows. bolsters. Perhaps noticing if this side feels different than the other. My sides are very not even. So I notice a difference from pose to pose on each leg. Find what feels good here. Again, if the chest and shoulders are sinking, find props, stack them up, make little prop towers, and then settle in. In a movement of vinyasa class, ashtanga, whatever kind of movement class you're taking, you're going to hear a lot more cueing to stay engaged here. Because this is yin, you can start to release and relax down into this. It's intended to be a stretch. You should have stretch to the glute, perhaps a little compression at the hip joint, the hip socket itself. But nothing should hurt, nothing should be too intense. That's how yin works. Yin adds stress to the joints, the good kind of stress, either through stretch or compression, and it starts to activate the synovial capsules. It gets the synovial fluid to go from kind of a thick Vaseline-like consistency into something more liquid like an oil. So it's literally like WD-40 for your joints, you guys. It's great after. Yin does not always feel delicious during. That's pretty normal. So if you're not loving this, if you felt great when you got here, and then as you've settled into this pose, we're almost 2 minutes in right now, maybe it's a little less lovely, don't let your body tense up and fight back. Find that sense of ease. Let yourself really relax into it. We have 15 more seconds, so focus on breath, finding that stillness. On your next inhale, start to press into the elbows, the palms, slide any props out of the way, and then start to scoot that back leg in. If you came out through down dog last time, do down dog again this time. If you did hands and knees, that's perfect too. But if you do want to do down dog, tuck the toes, lift the back knee, pull that core in and rise up through your down dog, bending and straightening the left leg. Maybe circling out the hip, releasing that, finding gentle movement. And if you are in down dog, take a moment and pedal out both feet. Lower the knees down onto the mat. Finding your neutral. Shoulders over wrists. Knees are directly under the hips. We're going to move through cat-cow, and then we're coming off the knees. If your mat is thinner or your knees bother you, always grab a blanket and slide under there, add some cushion. Inhale, let the belly drop, push the floor away, lift the chin and chest. Exhale, tuck the tailbone first. Focus on that low back. Pull the core in, and then push the mat away, rounding through the entire spine. Inhale, belly drops, chin and chest lifts. Exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding through the back. One more time. Let the belly drop, chin and chest lift. Exhale, squeezing in. Come on back to neutral. Walk the feet forward. You can either cross the ankles and roll over your heels or swing your legs around. Whatever feels best. As we come to a nice, tall, seated position, we're going to work on a little bit of a hamstring stretch. So you want to be firmly on the sit bones. Back is nice and straight. I'm going to turn sideways so you can kind of see what we're looking for. If you feel like you're rounding the low back, sinking onto the tailbone, or you're almost reaching towards the toes, you're in a little bit of a crunch position, grab that blanket, just like we did at the beginning. You're going to sit up onto the blanket and then scooch forward until you feel that moment where your sit bones slide off and the tailbone lifts. This just makes that nice tall spine a little easier, so that's all we're looking for. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Also, check in with the backs of your knees. If you are hypermobile and can lift your feet off the floor while your legs are straight, that puts a lot of pressure on the backs of the knees. So you're going to want to grab a second blanket, roll it up, slide it behind the knees, giving yourself a micro bend. So we're not trying to keep them bent per se, but you want a little bit of flex in those knees so that you're not hyperextending. Lengthen through the crown of the head, and then hinging from the feet, walk the hands forward. Maybe you only come here. We are looking for stretch to the hamstring, the upper back of the leg. That's all you want. If you find that here, perfect. If you need more, lengthen through the crown of the head and hinge again from the hip flexors, almost like you're sticking your booty out as you fold forward. Notice my feet. My feet are relaxed right now. If this is comfortable and you have a stretch to your hamstring, perfect. If you would like to add a little more, you can also flex at the ankles and draw the toes back. See how that feels. For me, my calves tend to be tight, so this particular variation is more calf stretch than hamstring stretch. My favorite foot position is, I call it the Barbie foot. You put the ball of the foot forward and then draw your toes back like you're trying to put on like a 5-inch high heel. That's where I get to my hamstrings. But it's just a matter of preference. Find the foot position that feels good for you. And find your breath. Notice that your body will naturally lift as you inhale. You don't have to force it, but don't stop it either. Allow it to happen. We inhale and expand. And exhale, release. Make sure the low back feels good. There's no pain or pulling through your low spine. "45 seconds left here." If you need more, perhaps you walk the hands forward an inch. We're already in a deep stretch, so small movements make a big difference. You don't have to go all the way as far as you possibly can. In fact, I don't recommend it. I always say the Goldilocks zone. You want to find where you have just enough stretch, but it's not so much that anything's pulling, pinching, or you're going as far as you possibly can, because then you can't hold it. You want to be able to hold for time. Just a few more breaths here. On your next inhale, start to press into the palms, walking the hands back, taking your time. Make sure your low back is happy with this movement. Finding your nice tall seat. Bend your right leg in, take the right foot on the floor. Cross the right foot over the left so your foot's just outside your knee. Lengthen through the crown of the head. Wrap the left arm around your knee and the right hand reaches behind you, pushing into the mat, finding a twist. We're just releasing that forward fold. You can stay here if you need a little more. Straighten your left arm and slide the upper arm between your chest and thigh, and then you can start to use that as a lever. We get taller with every inhale and twist a little deeper with every exhale. Release that back to center. Straighten out the right leg. Pause for a moment here before we switch sides. Bend into the left foot. Take the left foot to the outside of the right knee. Find that length again. Get as tall as you can. Wrap that right arm. Left hand comes behind you, pushing into that back hand. Maybe you straighten out the right arm and find that leverage if it feels good. Taking full breaths even though there's pressure on the diaphragm. Release that back to center. Uncross the legs. So the next pose we're going to do is swing the legs around. Come on to hands and knees. Grab a block. I'm going to turn sideways so you guys can see what I'm doing. You want your feet about hip bone distance apart, and then you're going to take the block and place it, I like the middle level, seems to be the most comfortable height, and place it under your booty as you sit back on it. It's going to the block will be kind of between your ankles. Lift up as high as you can, find that length. We're going to lean backwards. This is a backwards hinge to stretch the quads. If you are particularly flexible and you have a nice internal rotation, you can always drop the block down to the low level and then just lean down. Maybe this is enough, you stay here. Maybe you walk those hands a little further back. We're not holding this very long, so I'm not going to set up big props. There's a lot of ways to do this that make this much nicer. For this particular variation, we just want to stretch for the front of the legs. Lengthening through the front body, stretching through the entire quad. There should be no pinching or pulling in your knees. You can also stack up 2 blocks if that works. You just want something under your booty. If this is a happy, happy place for you, some people have a natural internal rotation. You can slide that block out and come and sit down between your feet and then lean back and see how that feels. Internal rotation is not my strength, so this is not my favorite version. I actually get a better stretch to the thighs by sitting up on something. So that's what works for me. But just find what feels good, stretching through the quads, walking those hands back, maybe even let your head fall back gently. Don't let it collapse. You lift your chin instead of falling into the back of the neck. Perhaps even start to arch through the chest, opening the chest and shoulders if that works for you. Primary focus is those thighs and maybe the hip flexors. Secondary is to open through the chest and shoulders. 2 more breaths here. And inhale, pressing into those palms, bringing the body upright. Lean forward onto hands and knees. Slide that block out of the way. And then again, either swing the legs around or cross your ankles and roll over your feet. Whatever feels better for your body. We're coming back to a seated position. We're going to do a lovely back bend and then a couple twists and we're done. So grab that bolster. Slide the bolster lengthwise on the mat behind you. Grab your blankets or towels. Again, bed pillows work, guys. I know sometimes at home we don't have all the props. So use what you have. Roll up the blankets or towels. Slide it between your back and the bolster. Give it a push so that it's at a nice angle. Roll up the blanket. Place it, a second blanket. Place it 2/3 of the way up the bolster. That's going to go under your neck. And then grab your blocks. Place them right beside your hips, so that you have easy access to them. We're going to start to recline down. So take a minute and really adjust everything so that your back feels supported. Someone mentioned the other day that this wasn't a great angle for them. You can always slide a block flat under the head of the bolster, under the top of the pillow, and make it more of an incline. That would make this a little sweeter. But make sure your back is happy. Legs can be straight out in front of you if that feels good. You can keep the knees bent and just let your knees fall towards each other. Or you can take the soles of the feet together and let your knees fall wide. If you take this last option, grab those blocks, slide them under knees or thighs to hold the legs in a position that's comfortable so they don't continue to stretch. That will cause compression in your low back. So find the place that makes you happy. Take the arms out wide at shoulder height. We haven't done a lot with chest and shoulders today. So take those arms out wide, finding the stretch through the chest and shoulders, opening up. If that becomes too much, bring your hands down beside your hips. I am going to be quiet through this pose. We're going to hold here. This is essentially an early Savasana, or the longer of the Savasanas today, believe it or not. So find whatever is comfortable. Your whole body should feel supported, happy, relaxed. Take a big deep breath in through your nose. Open mouth, take a giant exhale. Let the breath return to normal without control, breathing in and out through the nose, allowing the body to be heavy, the mind quiet, as we focus on breath and releasing tension throughout your entire body. We have 2 minutes left here. Allow your body to relax. Don't worry about time. I will bring you out of this. One minute left. With your next inhale, start to find gentle movement, wiggling fingers and toes. If you've taken your knees wide, reach down and lift them back towards each other, extending the legs out straight in front of you. Start to press into the elbows, the palms, rising up to a seated position. Slide your props out from behind you. And then when you're ready, roll down, coming flat on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor, pausing here. Allow that spine a chance to reset gently as it releases toward the mat. Take the arms out wide at shoulder height, cross the right leg over the left, squeezing those legs together. Shift your hips to the right. Let your knees fall to the left as you find a twist. If this is not comfortable, uncross the legs and stack the knees on top of each other and see if that feels better. Finding your twist here first. Allowing your body to release into this. If you would like to add an outer thigh stretch for the IT band while you're here, start to straighten your right leg. Maybe even reaching it toward your left hand, if that feels good for you. We're just adding a little stretch for the outer thigh. Bend back into that leg. Roll the knees back to center. Uncross them if they're still crossed. Shift your hips back to neutral and again, pause here. And then switching sides. Left leg over the right. Hips shift to the left. Knees fall to the right. Finding your twist on this side. Holding in the twist first. And just allowing the spine to relax into this twist. Now if you'd like a little more, start to straighten out that left leg. Reaching your straight foot towards your hand. It doesn't have to touch, we're just reaching towards it. Or maybe you even take that hand and hold on behind the calf, the knee, whatever's comfortable for you as you stretch into that outer left leg. Bend into your top knee, roll back over to center, uncross the legs, shift the hips to neutral, pausing here. If you'd like to continue and take a Savasana at this point, please set up and find the comfortable place. If not, draw your knees into your chest. Rock your way up to a seated position. Keeping the eyes closed or soft, bring hands to heart center, pausing in these last moments. Connecting to your heartbeat, connecting to the stillness. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you an absolutely amazing week.